Okay, welcome to the test review for test number 2. There's going to be 10 questions on this test, all of them multiple choice. Pick the answer that's closest to the one you have, because all of the right answers are actually on the test this time, oddly enough. And let's see, as usual with this kind of a test, if you look at the thing and your mind goes blank and you can't figure out any way to even approach the problem, move on to the next one. When you get to the end, go back and try to finish the ones that you haven't done yet if you still have time. Okay, the first problem is a straight number type word problem. In this case, the example, which is somewhat like what's on the test, is find 3 consecutive odd numbers whose sum is 39. Even numbers are multiples of 2, so we get the odd numbers by adding 1 to those. So let's we'll let 2n plus 1 be the first odd number. Then 2n plus 3 will be the second. And 2n plus 5 will be the third. We know that's going to be the case because they're odd numbers that are right after each other, but since even and odds alternate, we just get the next one by adding 2 instead of 1. If we were just saying the consecutive integers, we would just add 1 each time. So let's see, if we add these up, we get 6n plus 6, and we know we want the answer to be 39. So that's our equation that we're going to solve for this word problem. And then we want to get the 6 over the other side, so we do that by subtracting 6 from both sides. That zeroes it out over here on the left, so we're left with just 6n. And then 39 minus 6. Oh, okay. Let me just check something here. Oh, well, it helps if you add things right. Oh my. 1 plus 3 plus 5, of course, is 9, not 6. And so we're actually subtracting 9 from both sides. So 6n is equal to 30. Divide both sides by 6. And we end up with n is equal to 5. So then our first number is going to be 2 times 5 plus 1, or 11. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11. And we can go ahead and do it long ways or just add 2. So 13 is the second odd number, and 15 is the third. And if you add these up, of course, you do end up with 39, so it does work. The thing to watch out for is 5 is not your first number. It's just the number we plug in to get the first and to get all these numbers. Okay. If you have questions on these, make a note of them, and then during the class time, I'll be there on Canvas, and you can ask me for more specifics. Okay, second problem is a percentage type word problem. A cooked steak loses 20% of its original weight. If it lost 5 ounces, what was its original weight? Okay, 20% is equal to 1/5. Okay. Now if we let W be the original weight, oh well, this is math, not penmanship, so then we know that 1/5 of W is the amount of weight that was lost, and that was 5 ounces. So then if we multiply both sides by 5, we get that W is equal to 25 ounces. I'm abbreviating it here on the test. It may, I'll write out pounds and ounces and whatnot. So that's how we do that type of a problem. Okay then. And again, if you have a question about it, send me a message on Canvas. Okay, then the third problem is going to be one involving simple interest in a loan. John borrows $10,000. 3 months later, he repaid the original amount plus $2,000 in interest. What was the original annual interest rate? And remember, we use annual because the formula for simple interest is annual interest and the number of years rather than months. So we start off with our interest is equal to principal times the rate times the time. And then we divide both sides by the rate, the principal times the time. That gives us that the rate is equal to the interest divided by the principal times the time, or we could have said time times principal. It's a nice thing about the commutative property of multiplication, and we're going to take advantage of that. So our interest was 2,000. Three months is 1/4 of a year. And then because of a trick we're going to use later, since we express our interest rate as a percentage, I'm going to split the 10,000 up into 100 times 100. Let's see, bring Okay. Dividing by a fourth is the same thing as multiplying by 4. So we're going to end up with 4 times 2,000 over 100 times 100. 100 goes into 2,020 times. So we get 80 over 100, which is the same thing as 80%. That means we probably borrowed money from a loan shark, because anything over 20% is defined as usury, which is illegal. All right, the fourth problem is a mixture type problem, taking advantage of the fact that the value of each of the components of our mixture is equal to, if we add those together, we get the value of the mixture itself. So let's let T equal the number of t-shirts sold. Then 120 minus T is the number of hats sold. Okay, so t-shirts are $15 a piece, so we'll have 15T then, plus $18 for the hats, so that's 18 times 120 minus T. If we add those two together, then we should end up with 1,920. Alright, we're going to need to distribute the 18 over the 120 minus T. So if we multiply 18 by 120, we get 8 times 12 is 96. And then we just indent, sort of, a reverse indent actually. So 18 times 120 is going to be 2,160, and then we'll have minus 18T. That still equals 1,920. If we combine our like terms here, we'll get 2,160 minus 3T. 15 minus 18 is at negative 3. Alright then. We'll add 3T to both sides. Not 36, 3T. and then we'll subtract the 1,920 from both sides. That'll zero out on the left. This zeroes out on the right. And so we end up with 240 is equal to 3t. Divide both sides by 3. And we end up with 80 is equal to t. That means that 120 minus t is going to be equal to 40. Let's check the answer on that. So we have 12 times 80. That's 960. And 18 times 40 is 320. All right. Well, let's see. As often happens, you have to go back and double check. 8. That is 96. No, 1, 2, so that'd be 2,160. Well, okay. Well, that's because t-shirts sell for $15, not 12. Okay. Well, we're getting closer. Okay, and 18 times 40, that's actually equal to 720. So we do get 1,920. You just have to remember to plug in the right numbers. That's why it's always good to check. Fifth problem. Two legs of a right triangle are 8 inches and 15 inches. What's the length of the hypotenuse? Well, we know that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So we get 8 squared, which is 64, and 15 squared, Alright, 15 times 15. 5 times 15 is 75. And we indent. 1 times 15 is just 15. This ends up being 225. So if we add these together, we get 289. Now, if you've ever taken drafting, you know that you find the opposite point of a triangle by taking your two lengths A and B and seeing where they cross, and that's your opposite vertex. Well, we should know by this then that this distance here, C, has to be less than A plus B. So we know that the hypotenuse then has to be less than 23. Well, that's good to know. We also know that it's going to be greater than 15. $20 is pretty easy to take the square of. That's 20 times 20 is going to be 400. So we know that C squared here is between these two. Well, let's see, about halfway between 15 and 20 is 18. If we look at 18 and square it, let's see, 64, so 8 and 6 is 14. We indent. You're probably wondering why I'm doing all this. Well, remember the objectives of the course. You're supposed to be able to do this without a calculator. Okay. Well, 289 is in fact still less than 324. So we know now that the hypotenuse is between 15 and 18. That only leaves us 16 and 17. So we look at, let's try 16. Since, well, just because it's a fairly easy one. If you've done this in high school and courses, then you'll know that, well, you might have run across 16 squared. Let's see, 6 times 36, carry a 3, so that's 96, and then indent, and then 16. All right. Well, 250 156 is also less than 289. Which means that C is between 16 and 18. That only leaves 17. So let's just check that out. So we get 9, carry a 4. So that's 11. And then 7 and 1. 9, 8, 2. Voila. $289 is equal to 17 squared, so that means that C is 17 inches. Okay, so we're halfway through the test here. The next is a word problem based on that distance is equal to rate times time, or a job is equal to the rate times the amount of time that you're working at it. Driving or walking a distance is just a particular type of job. It could be washing a window, painting a house, mowing a lawn, whatever. So we've got our rest stop here. We've got one car going east. And we've got the other car going, well, west. The westbound car is going at 65 miles an hour. So if we multiply 65 miles per hour by T hours, that'll give us how many miles it's gone in that length of time T. The eastbound car is going 50 miles an hour, so its distance is 50 T miles. And we want the whole distance here to be 300. So that tells us that our equation that we're starting off with is 65T plus 50T is equal to 300. Or 115T is 300. We divide by 115. Of course, that'll just give us T over here. Five will go into 115 23 times. And it will go into 300 60 times. Okay, we can't reduce this any further because this is these two numbers are relatively prime. 23 actually is a prime number. Doesn't have any other factors other than 1 and 23. Let's change this from a improper fraction to a mixed number. 2 times 23 is equal to 46. So this will be 2, and if we subtract 46 from 60, we get 14. Now, I gave all the answers on your test in hours and minutes. So we're going to have to figure out how many minutes this is. So 14 times 60 minutes in an hour 60 times 14 is 840. So let's go over here and do our long division. 23 into 840. Okay, 4 times 23 is going to be 92, so we have to drop down here to 3, which gives us 69. We subtract that from our 84 there, and we get 15, and we bring down a 0. And let's see. Well, ordinarily that would be, if this is 25, we know that would go in 6 times. So we'll guess at that. 6 times 23 is 138. And so we end up with a 12 there. Now, if we travel for 2 hours and 36 minutes, we're not going to be quite 300 miles apart. You might be thinking to yourself, well, yeah, we're only going to be like within 10 yards of it, but we're going to round this up, because at 2 hours and 37 minutes, they will definitely be .300 miles apart. So the answer that you're going to want for this is 2 hours and 37 minutes. Ah. Well, let's see. I just noticed I did this incorrectly on the written version of this. Instead of, when I divided by 115 there, the 3 on both sides, I wrote it as 115 divided by 300. Well, hopefully you're all watching this video then, because you'll know that that's wrong. But it's too late to go back and change that, because I've already sent this out. That's why we checked answers. All right, problem number 7. Well, I'm not going to check the spelling. Received should be R-E-C-E-I-V-E-S. Rachel receives a gift certificate for $200. She's setting up a small hotel, and so she wants to use this to buy some lamps costing $17 each. The same model, so that all the rooms will be alike, as you would expect in a hotel or motel. What is the maximum number of lamps that she can purchase using just the certificate? This is a word problem involving an inequality. And remember, the reason that we're doing that is you can't buy just part of a lamp. You have to buy a whole lamp. And it might very well be that that's $17 or $17.99. That's just a small difference. If you had 99 cents on there, say, You'd have to multiply both sides by 100 to get rid of the decimal in the problem. So if we let n be the number of lamps then our equation is going to be 17n is less than or equal to 200. Okay, and if we divide by both sides by 17, we get that n is less than or equal to, if we change this into a mixed number, 17 goes into 20 twice. That'll give us a 3, bring down a 0. 17 goes into 30, only once, I'm sorry. 17 goes into 30 also once. And we'll have like 13/17 of a lamp. But if she wants that next whole lamp, she's going to have to spend some of her own cash or credit. We're not allowing that. We want her to just use that gift certificate. So 11 is the largest number, is the maximum number of lamps that she can buy just using the gift certificate. Okay, forging ahead. Problem number 8. So we're done with the word problems now. The last 3 problems have to do with graphs and equations and inequalities. Okay, so we want to find the standard form of the equation of the line that passes through -7, -3, and 4, 6. We're going to use the 2-point form first to start with. That's y minus y1 is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 times x minus x1. Now it doesn't make any difference if you let this be 0.1 or this be 0.1. You just have to be consistent. You can't say, for instance, that -3 is y1 and 4 is x1. They have to be out of the same ordered pair. So if we say, well, let's say this is x1, y1, and that 4, 6 is x2, y2. Then this equation here is going to become y minus a -3 is equal to then 6 minus a -3 over 4 minus a -7. All that times x minus -7. Okay. Subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding a positive. So this is going to become y plus 3 is equal to 6 plus 3 over 4 plus 7 times x plus 7, or y plus 3 is equal to 9/11 x plus 7. Now, the standard form of the equation of a line, remember, is ax plus by plus c is equal to 0. And we want a, b, and c to be some sort of integer. So let's multiply both sides here through by 11. That'll get rid of our denominator there. So we'll get 11 times y plus 3, or 11y plus 33 is equal to 9 times x plus 7, or 9x plus 63. And we want everything on the same side equal to 0. So let's subtract. I always like my x-coordinate to be positive. So let's subtract 11y plus 33 from both sides. So over here on the left, that'll all zero out. We get 0 is equal to 9x minus 11y, and then 63 minus 33 is 30. So this is your line here. Again, if you have questions on this, make a note of it and send me a message on Canvas during the class time, 6:30 to 8, or 6:30 to 8 tomorrow as well. It's office hours. Okay, number 9. Find the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line through 5/8, which is perpendicular to 3x minus 7y plus 3 is 0. Well, let's look at that line and figure out the slope, because we know that if two lines are perpendicular, then m, the slope of the original line, times the slope of the perpendicular line, is got to be equal to -1. Okay. So let's subtract, well, we'll do it this way. Subtract 3x and 3 from both sides. That leaves us with minus 7y is equal to minus 3x minus 3. Divide both sides by -7. And we end up with y is equal to -3 divided by -7 is positive 3/7. So 3/7 in this case is our slope. This is actually the slope-intercept form of a line. That y is equal to mx plus b. M's the slope, and 0b is the y-intercept. Okay, we know that the slope of our perpendicular line then is going to be -1 over m. So in this case, that's going to be -1 over 3/7 or -7/3. It basically, you could look at it as just flipping the fraction there and then multiplying it through by a -1. So for our new line, to get the actual numbers, let's start off with the point slope formula, which is y minus yp is equal to m times x minus xp. That'll be y minus 8, because 8 is our y coordinate here. And then -7/3 for m in this case, and then x minus 5. Now, I'm going to go ahead and multiply both sides through here by 3. I'll have to, come up, but I don't want to mess with let's do it the other way. So y minus 8 is -7/3 x plus -7 times the -5 gives us a positive 35/3. Alright then, so we want to isolate the y by itself, so we'll add 8 to both sides. Except over here on the right, we know that 8 is equal to what would it be, 24/3. They're the same number. It's just that we need it with a 3 in the denominator to add it with the 35/3. Okay, so that zeroes out on the left there, and we're left with just y is equal to -7/3 x plus 59/3. And this is our slope-intercept form of the line that's perpendicular to the original line and goes through 5/8. All right then. Now to the last problem. We want to graph the inequality. Now let's see. 3x plus 4y is less than 5, and we want to label the intercepts. First of all, we're going to notice this is a strict inequality. So that means that when we plot the intercepts, we're going to use hollow dots, and we're going to use a dashed line to indicate that that point, the points on that line, including the intercepts, are not part of the solution set. Okay, so if we let x equal 0, that means that we're going to have 4y is equal to 5, or y is equal to 5/4. Which means that 0, 5/4 is the y-intercept, because we set x equal to 0 to get it. And if we let y equal to 0, that means that 3x is less than 5, so x, or equal to 5 in this case. So x is 5/3. Which means that 5/3 0 is the x-intercept. All right, let's see here. Oh, made that way longer than I needed to. So we've got our y-axis here, the vertical one, and the x-axis, which is the horizontal one. Let's say we got 1, 2, and 1, and 2. So let's see. 5/3 0 would be about here, and 5/4, or 0 5/4 would be about here. So then our line unless you get really on a, like if we had done this in class on a, you know, for an in-class assignment, unless you got really weird and made an obvious curve instead of a straight line, I don't require you to buy a ruler or a straight edge of some sort. And so this is good enough, straight enough. It's just a sketch. All right, so that's our line that divides our plane here into two parts, one of which is the solution set and one of which is not. So we're going to shade the part that is. An easy point to check is 0, 0, the origin. So if we plug in 0 for x and 0 for y, this whole side becomes 0. Is 0 less than 5? Yes, it is. So that tells us that everything here below the line, including the origin, is part of the solution set for this inequality. If it had said 0 was greater than 5, for instance, then we would want to pick the other side of the line. If this had been less than or equal to, we would have used a solid line and solid dots because all of those points are in there. Now that we know that we're shading below the line, let's put our labels up above the line for the intercepts. So we get 0 and 5/4 for our y-intercept, and then down here it's 5/3 0 for the x-intercept. Now, so that is the graph. You'll have 4 choices on the test. You can kind of eliminate some of them probably because they've got the wrong kind of line and points. It's a strict inequality, and you've got solid lines and solid dots for the intercepts, or it's an inclusive one and you have dashed lines and hollow dots for the intercepts. So you could eliminate those. But basically, if you can just find the x and y intercept and get those right, you'll probably be able to figure out which of the 4 choices of a graph is the right one for problem number 10. Now, it'll say on the written version of this that's in Canvas that you might want to consider, like the definition of algebra, how we got that word, and who it was that came up with the rectangular coordinate system for extra credit questions. We're not going to do that this time, so it doesn't hurt to know that Rene Descartes did, and we get algebra from the Arabic al-jabr, meaning to restore parts, as in setting bones, but that we're not doing extra credit because there's just 10 questions on this, albeit it probably will take you the whole hour and 15 minutes, but I know the first time I taught this, I think I had like 16 or 18 problems, and that was just not enough time to do all of those. So we don't cover everything in the 2 chapters, but we do the best we can. Okay, so again, if you have any questions, send me a Canvas message on these examples that you want further explanations on. During the class time today, 6:30 to 8, I'll check every once in a while after that until 11. For those of you that seem to be late in doing this, and hopefully I remembered to press record before I started this time. So good luck on the test.